Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners, macabre murders, and captivating crimes from across the centuries, and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 213.
Yes, it is.
Unlucky for some.
213.
Well, there's a 13
There's
in
a
there.
13 in it.
There's a 13 in there. Some people may run from the room screaming.
Right.
Hopefully not.
Probably
That would
not.
be weird. Please stay and listen. Sort of podcast depends upon it. How are you, Nick?
I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
I'm good.
Had a nice day.
Had a nice day. Not been at work. It's been nice.
Ooh, delicious.
Yeah.
You put up some lights.
I put up some lights. I changed my lights.
Ooh.
Quite pleased with my new lights.
And they are very fancy.
Yeah.
They are very, very pretty lights. They suit this room very nicely.
So I bought them before I even moved into the flat. And they've been sat in a box since November.
Lazy.
So it's like, no, I'm going to put the lights up.
Yes, and you have, and it's
I
a
have,
triumph.
And I'm very pleased. It's getting there slowly.
I have put no lights up today.
Gus slacker.
I wrote an episode, went to the
Yeah.
doctor, and luckily got all the things from the doctor. It was great.
So many drugs.
I was like, hello, doctor, and explained, yes, you have asthma. Why are you here? Like, well, do you want to see all these specialists? Yes, I would love that. Thank you. Throw that in there, too. For the first time, I actually went, yes, can I have these, rather than, no, I don't want to bother you. So it's all good. Everyone's well.
Everyone's well, apart from you.
Oh, yeah, apart from me. But any poisonings this week?
Probably.
No, probably. It's poised.
It's ready to go.
Poised for a poisoning.
Ready to go.
Well, speaking of being poised for a poisoning and also putting up lights, because most of you will probably have done this, and if you
Yeah, I'm
haven't,
sure you
you're
have.
losers. I think it is time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
Indeed. We also thank this week Melanie.
Thank you, Lady Bygrave White.
To the Belladonna Baroness. You're very fancy.
To Jennifer Gerhardt.
And to the Quirky Diva.
We have had some fancy names
Nice.
this week.
Liking it a lot.
We have baronesses, we have ladies, we have divas.
We have divas. Bloody marvellous.
We have other people with absolutely splendid names who did not feel the need to impress us. But sorry, that sounded passive-aggressive. We love you.
You passive aggressive? No, surely not.
No, surely not. Thank you, you delicious Patreon subscribers, newcomers. We are so, so glad to have you with us. You have a huge amount of Poisoner's Cabinet content over on Patreon. We had fun on Patreon this week, didn't we, Nick?
Did we?
Yes. You spoke of pirates.
Oh, we did.
You did.
That was it. How can I not remember what I did 2 days ago? It was some lovely, lovely piratey goings-ons.
With Steady, whatever we want to call him.
Steedy Bonnet.
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 As he might have liked to be called.
Steedy Bonnet.
Yes, the gentleman pirate. Fascinating,
Jolly
fun,
time that was.
good fun story, that one. That is a really, really funny story. If you want to know what the hell we're talking about, please do consider joining us on patreon.com/The Poisoner's Cabinet, where you get extra episodes from us every single week, as well as a bunch of bonus content. Yes, videos, outtakes, little tiny small things that I sometimes write. And
Tiny,
book club.
tiny small things.
Little tiny things that used to be over there and they're not there anymore.
Because they're over there.
They're over there now, yes.
exciting.
It is all happening on patreon.com, where you can support the Poisoner's Cabinet if you love us.
Before you do this,
Right.
there's a new thing that we've done.
Is there?
There is.
Oh, yes.
You forgot about the thing, haven't you?
Well, you didn't tell me I was supposed to say
Well,
about
I
the
think
thing.
we should say about the thing.
I think we should say about the thing. I definitely know what it is.
Absolutely. We have a website.
We have a website.
thepoisonerscabinet.com.
It is.
Go and have a look. It's very exciting.
It is.
So all the episodes are up there. All the cocktails are up there. So if you ever want to go back and look at one of our cocktail recipes, have a browse. I mean, they're 200 odd cocktails. It's a lot of cocktails. Search them out. You can search by your favourite ingredient, whatever you like. It's very clever. Go and check us out. Yeah, poisonerscabinet.com. And if you see any spelling mistakes, let us know.
Yes.
Anything doesn't work, let us know, and we'll try and get it fixed.
Darling listeners listening to this in real time, or if you're just finding us for the first time, please go and look at the Poisoners Cabinet website. Obviously, we want traffic to the website. We're not going to lie. We're going to say, if you can go to the website this week, have a browse, click on stuff. If you find any glitches, let us know. It's fine. Nick has done an incredible job of building this website, and we're very, very proud of it, because we've not just uploaded the episodes on there, but it is a cocktail finder. So if you are going, well, I want blackberry and I want to see what cocktails we've done involving blackberry, you'll be able to find them on the website. It's very impressive.
It's very clever.
Took a long time.
It took a long time.
It took 4 years.
But we got there.
So please go and check out thepoisonerscabinet.com. That is where you will find everything you need to know about this show. Well, Nick, are you ready
I think so.
to drink cocktails and talk about poison?
No, why not?
Or we could drink poison and talk about cocktails.
I want a snack.
You want a snack?
Yeah.
Or we can have snacks this week.
Yeah.
Well, what do you have?
No,
Sell it to
not
me.
much, unfortunately.
Right, so this was just hollow.
Yeah, no, it's just an upsetting realisation that I want a snack and I have no snacks.
Now, I have an idea based on what I just saw in your fridge. That sounds upsetting, but don't worry.
And also, I would say probably 50% of the stuff in my fridge is probably out of date by now.
50% of the stuff in your fridge you have been talking about is in there for a month.
Yeah.
And it's not been opened and wants to die.
It wants to die. It needs to die. But it involves like some effort and like throwing it away.
Snacks we'll come back to. But should we go with the first option of drinking?
Yes, let's do that.
Hooray, hooray, hooray. It is my story this week, but we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. So, Nick, this week's secret ingredient is... Canterbury.
Right.
The beautiful, beautiful English town, not the New Zealand one.
Well, that was me one of my questions. Are we talking about Canterbury, or a different Canterbury?
We are talking about Canterbury in Kent.
Okay.
Our home city.
Yes.
It is. We call it a town sometimes, but it is a city.
It is a city.
It's an actual city.
It's a tiny one, but it's a city.
Yes, it is beautiful. Our beautiful, beautiful city of Canterbury is the ingredient this week for reasons.
I'm glad there are reasons.
For reasons. And you didn't question me at all, so I've got high hopes.
Well, no, I went with it.
A couple of people have mentioned the cathedral and Thomas Becket. I used the picture of Canterbury Cathedral to illustrate, because that's the most famous landmark.
We've already done Thomas Becket.
We have done Thomas Becket.
You can't do him again.
I can't do him again. I can't do a double take. Thomas Becket's murder in Canterbury Cathedral is something we've covered on Patreon. So if you want to listen to that story, it's on Patreon. But it's not that. It's not that.
Okay, good.
Some people went, oh, bones. A few other people just went, oh, it's coming home. There were lots of good comments. It was lovely.
Right. Glad to hear it.
But with Canterbury as your ingredient, your inspiration, what have you come up with?
Well, I came up with a cocktail.
Okay.
So we're having this week. I mean, there's quite a lot out there for Canterbury. There's a lot of things you could look at for Canterbury.
Aye.
Because I did go down like a literature sort of route. Mm-hmm. I did go down like a Canterbury Tales sort of thing.
Very famous.
Do I do something like that? But I thought, oh no, because especially as you put a picture of the cathedral up, this week we are having an archbishop.
An archbishop. That is absolutely valid and acceptable.
I'm glad you approve.
Yes, the Archbishop of Banterbury. Okay, wonderful. I am excited. I think it is high time for us to walk solemnly into the Poisoner's Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm, so we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, we have the Archbishop.
That we do.
Now, I'm not going to lie. We recorded this.
We've done this all before. It's a slight sense of deja vu.
It is. And I'm going to say this now, and then I'm going to act. Something went wrong. And now we're back here.
And now we've started all over again.
It's like playing a computer game and we're like, oh, fuck, why are we back here? We were so close. So the Archbishop looked like a Negroni. It looked like a Negroni, and I've got some audio of me that I have saved.
Maybe me in the background.
Maybe Nick in the background that I will try and save. And if it's salvageable, I'm going to drop it in here. If it's not salvageable, this is what you're getting. So let's do this. Oh, look, Nick, it's such a delicious cocktail.
Oh, look at the
it looks like
drink.
a Negroni. It looks. Shall we try it?
Shall we for the first time?
Shall we try it for the first time? Okay, let's. Merry Christmas. What a symphony of flavors.
What a delight that is.
Now, I was very confused the first time I drank this. I was very confused and I went, it's like a Negroni, but I don't know what it is. But then I correctly guessed rum. After 5 tries.
After 5 tries and some hints.
Rum. You say it's rum. Oh my God, I'm so correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. Well done.
You did have to help me massively at the start with look at the colour, Sinead.
Yes.
And the colour being red.
It's like a Negroni.
And is there a touch of Campari in this?
Yes, there is.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
God.
No way. Now, Nick wouldn't do something horrible to me.
No, I never would.
He never would.
No, you're too dear a friend.
He wouldn't do this unless he introduced some green chartreuse.
You never know.
And he did. And I enjoyed it.
And you loved it.
I didn't love it.
Because the audio's gone now. But before she was like, my God, this is the best thing I've ever had.
Lies.
This is fucking amazing. I'm going to be making this every day. My God, what have you done?
Bathing in it.
I mean, it was
I didn't mind.
positively orgasmic previously. Now he's like, oh, it's all right. It's all right, I suppose. Oh, it's got a chartreuse in it. Oh, it's all right.
I enjoyed it for the first sip. I did like it. The first sip was me going, and I will put the audio in here, me going, that was very good. It's actually really good. The chartreuse is masked completely.
It's not masked.
Wow. All right, bitch.
Is it developing and enhancing the flavours, I think you'll find.
It is.
It's not masked.
For me, it's masked. For Nick, it's some fancy shit. It is a delightful cocktail. I did not taste the green chartreuse. It is really pleasant.
No, but you did. You did.
Did I though?
You did, because it's in there, so you tasted it and you liked it.
I feel like this is an intervention.
Yeah, exactly.
It's becoming something
So
upsetting.
I'm getting angry now.
Because you've had a whole one of
take
these.
two. I've had far too many drinks.
Well, if you didn't need to know, guys, it's Spirit Forward.
Yeah.
With the Archbishop firmly in hand. Would you like a story?
Oh, go on then. Surprise me.
Oh, I'm going to surprise you. This week, we are telling the tale of one of Canterbury's most famous sons.
Okay.
Oh, yes. We're going to dip into a little bit of Canterbury's history. But our mission this week is to discover the truth behind the death of Christopher Marlowe. Now, you know of Christopher Marlowe.
I know of him, yes.
You know of him.
Yes.
Right. You know him, though?
Not well.
Not well.
Not personally.
Not personally. He's in Canterbury a lot.
I know of him. There is a theatre named after him.
Yeah.
Which I've been to. So, yes, he seems to be quite famous.
The reason we're kind of like going, oh my God, well, I am, apparently, of Canterbury and Christopher Marlowe. He is very famous to Canterbury. There are many landmarks near where we live that are named for him. Well, I say many. There's some.
I mean, I can think of two.
There's some good ones and some shit. Yes. That's also. But he's a big poster boy for Canterbury. But the death of Christopher Marlowe is something that has puzzled historians for years. Was it a simple, a little bit of an accident? The story that many of you may have heard through film and TV, or was it a murder wrapped in a conspiracy, wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in a vest?
Yes, well, that sounds more fun.
There will be bells, Nick. There will be Buttery records. There will be betrayals, and there will be backgammon.
And big Buttery bells.
The bells will be fully greased.
Excellent. That's how you want your bells.
Let's start off. What do you know about Christopher Marlowe, Nick?
Fuck all.
Do you know much about Christopher Marlowe?
No, I don't at all.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
I really don't. I thought he had a statue in Canterbury. Apparently he doesn't.
We talked about this before, that you thought that the statue
I thought
of Geoffrey Chaucer.
Who is apparently Geoffrey Chaucer. Since it's been erected, it was only a few years ago it was put up.
Yeah,
I was convinced that was Marlowe, and apparently it's not.
No, it's Geoffrey Chaucer.
It's Geoffrey Chaucer.
So
shows how much attention I pay. So
for those who are fuzzy on their English literature past, if you need to know, Canterbury is famous for a few literary figures. Probably the one that's maybe most accessible around the world is Geoffrey Chaucer with the Canterbury Tales.
Canterbury Tales.
That is the tales of the pilgrims who travelled from London and further afield down to Canterbury to see the shrine of Thomas Becket, and we did cover the story of Thomas Becket on Patreon. We did. But Christopher Marlowe, very famous playwright, one of the daddies of blank verse plays, influenced Shakespeare, undoubtedly.
Or was Shakespeare?
Some people say that. Born in Canterbury. You will say,
I say that.
Okay, fine. I look forward to your musings on this
absolutely.
later.
There should be an in-depth discussion on the literary similarities between.
You know what? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not ready yet.
Oh, you're not ready.
I need to prepare my... So you've just thrown this on me. I need to prepare my thoughts.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell a story in the meantime.
You crack on.
I'll do that. Okay. So Christopher Marlowe was born in Canterbury, February 1564, died with a knife in his face in Deptford at the age of 29 in 1593. He was a contemporary of William Shakespeare. They were born in the same year. William Shakespeare struggling while Marlowe's star shone. Marlowe, best known for his plays Tamburlaine the Great.
Nope.
Dr. Faustus.
I know that one.
You don't know Tamburlaine the Great?
No.
Jew of Malta.
I know that one.
You do know that.
I know that one. It's like,
very
yes.
similar to Merchant of Venice.
Merchant of Venice.
Yeah. Edward II.
No.
Very gay.
Is it?
It's great.
What fun.
It's very good. It's very good. Seen in one of the great cultural figures in history, his works are part of the canon of English literature. Anyone who is piping up right now, pipe down, about Marlowe and William Shakespeare having been the same person, i.e. you, Nick, it's just a whole other thing.
It's a
so
whole
we're not
thing.
talking. We're doing true crime today. We'll maybe talk about it on Patreon. We'll see. So who was Christopher Marlowe?
I don't know.
Christopher Marlowe, Kit Marlowe, was born to John Marlowe, who was a shoemaker, and Catherine Marlowe in Canterbury.
Surely not.
The Banterbury. One of 9 children to the couple. His childhood home was about 10 minutes walk away from where we're recording this episode.
Very nice.
It was opposite St George's Church, which is the top of the high street as it's now known.
Where the tower is now.
So there is a tower there. If you come to Canterbury, you will see the clock tower. The church, gone. There is now a KFC and a doner kebab place and a bank.
And a place, yes. And generally students congregate under the tower and eat KFC and Burger King.
They do. It's just the tower and it's beautiful. But it just sits there and everyone just sort of like hangs out there under the tower going, oh my God, no way. The bell is long gone. The bell used to be there. But Marlowe's house used to be opposite that. And what's opposite now is Fenwick's department store.
The big old department store.
Yeah, but that used to be their house. There
He
is a little
loved
bit
his
of
luggage.
there is a thing to try and get a plaque there or some sort of memorial.
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, to say this was Christopher
Yes,
Marlowe's house.
Christopher Marlowe's house.
Yeah.
And then it was converted into Fenwick's.
And converted it literally after he
was,
left.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfumes, finery. He'd love
It's
that.
like, the ground plan is much the same as it always was.
Yes, St George's Church, the body of it was lost when the Luftwaffe redesigned the top end of the high street in the Second World War. And the bell there, fun fact, used to house Canterbury's waking bell.
Right.
The waking bell, which would be rung at 4 a.m. each day.
Who wants to be waking at 4 a.m. each day?
The people, apparently.
People, I guarantee people don't. So, one thing I can absolutely tell you, no one wants to be wakened at 4 a.m.
You can imagine people at the end of the high street. In Canterbury, there's a big old long high street.
Yeah.
It's a small city. You can imagine people at the end, like the gentle waking of the bell, like, oh, okay. You've got to go about your daily business. You've got
Not
to
at
go around
4
your
a.m. you don't.
tilling and farming.
No.
Milking of the cows.
No.
Preaching of the things.
No, not in the middle of the town. You don't. There's no tilling of the fields in the middle of the fucking city.
Nick, I'm going to break it to you. There was no KFC there at the time.
I'm sure there wasn't, but there wasn't a field full of cows.
There
either.
were bits of field. There really were.
That's outside of town, and no one tills a field at 4 a.m.
They did. The guy didn't go
This is
rogue.
before the sun has risen. Even in the middle of summer, there's no sun at 4 a.m.
This wasn't a guy who'd lost his mind.
I think it may
ringing
have
the
been.
bell.
I really think it may have been.
Christopher Marlowe's like, they're going, shut up.
It was just the Archbishop, so you couldn't tell him to fuck off.
He had his own bells in the church and he just came out to that one. I did read it the first time as wanking bell.
You would.
That is a bell that you don't need.
No, you do. You need to
Just everyone, now is the time.
and also keeps time. Keep a good rhythm going. That's what you need. Carries on for about 10 minutes or so, and then and
you're
crack
safe.
on.
Maybe it was the wanking bell. This is your only chance
this
because we're
is
going to be tilling all day.
Exactly. This is your chance now. Get it done now. You can have another hour and a half of sleep afterwards, and then wake up at 6 when normal people do.
Wakey, wakey, everyone. So that was Marlowe's start to the day. That was it. His family, ordinary, not very well off at all. Mother from a poor family. His father was a contemporary of Thomas Arden, who famously committed a murder. Oh, it was murder and everything. And then that turned into a play, and maybe Christopher Marlowe wrote it.
Yes.
That's all it is, literally. That's my
Okay.
summary of that story. He
delightful
was
story.
there when a murder happened. We've covered it on Patreon. Go listen there. When he wasn't making shoes, John Marlowe was often in court, either bringing his neighbours into court over petty squabbles.
Fun.
Maybe he brought the bell in one day and said, this fucker is waking me up.
Yes, just don't do this.
Or he was being hounded for unpaid debts. So yeah,
that's
not a well-off person. He was in various court cases, 17 court cases apparently, according to records. But he had some basic literacy. He acted as a sideman in St George's Church. He was the warden treasurer of the Company of Shoemakers. But Christopher Marlowe was incredibly bright. so bright that he won a scholarship to King's Canterbury.
Nice.
King's Canterbury, the oldest school in
the oldest continually operating school, they say.
Okay.
So, obviously not the first school in the history of the world.
That would be weird.
That would be weird. But the longest operating school. So it's been going since 600 something or other.
Maybe. I would.
Yes, it's something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And continuously operating for that length of time.
And it is very pretty, and it was the inspiration for Hogwarts, if anyone wants to know. And it's spenny.
It's quite pricey.
It is quite pricey.
Quite pricey.
And they have weird uniforms. They don't need all those collars. It's weird.
There's many collars going on.
There's many collars and tails and everything like that. But it's a very, very beautiful building. Series of buildings.
Many buildings.
Scholarships were scarce. It only allowed for 50 boys, both destitute of the help of friends and endowed with minds apt for learning. And Christopher Marlowe was one of those.
Nice.
Not someone who could afford to go to higher education or education, really, but incredibly intelligent and naturally gifted is the best description for Christopher Marlowe. He went into this school, he studied religion, music, Latin. Latin was a big thing. You had to speak Latin all day, every day, even when you were playing.
Yeah, I think the Latin is just,
Latin is the way.
Latin is the way forward.
Also, then you can be like tried in the ecclesiastical court if you've ever done anything wrong. Whatever. Music, verse, classics. His studies were so good that at the age of 16, he won a scholarship to Cambridge University,
nice.
Corpus Christi College. And
more Latin,
just dancing. Well, his scholarship exam, when he had to get into Cambridge, he had to compose a Latin verse, sing plain song at sight, demonstrate mastery of Latin syntax and grammar. Marlowe's education was supposed to fit him out for a life in the clergy. But when he arrived at Cambridge, he spent most of his time translating the words of Ovid into English blank verse.
Sometimes.
Yes, very good. And he started writing his poetry and his plays, and these would be the frameworks for the masterful works that he would go on and be known for in the rest of his life after university. But it's at Cambridge that his life starts to split into different directions. Marlowe's myth starts to take place, or the idea of it anyway. On one hand, we have Marlowe as the playwright, a man who left university with a BA and later an MA after 6 years of study, went on to stage incredibly successful plays and gained popularity as a playwright and would die tragically young. But then we have the other side of Marlowe, the side that starts to emerge at university. He was a very good student, but he was absent for big chunks of his studies.
Okay.
He wasn't around a lot. So
You won the beers.
Mabes. When the time came for him to be awarded his MA in 1587, the university refused. They were not inclined to give him his MA because you need to be here.
Well, you've not done the work. Absolutely.
No, you've not done the work. It was said that he had been slipping off to France.
Wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese.
Wine and cheese. Lovely ladies. Lovely French ladies. Going to the Moulin Rouge.
This is where Marlowe's history might kick in for you here a little bit. Ladies, not so... The thing he was going to in France, he wasn't going to the Moulin Rouge, he wasn't going to Paris, he was going to Rheims. Rheims. Famously the home of a Catholic seminary.
A big old cathedral.
Big old cathedral there, and also a place that was Catholic.
As is most of France.
Yeah, but this was a big place because it was where the Babington plot had been formed. The plot to overthrow the reigning Queen of England, Elizabeth I, and to put Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne.
Scandal.
If he's going over there, is he showing Catholic leanings? Is he going to go and whisper?
Traitor.
Get information.
Dodgy.
Doesn't deserve an MA until a letter arrives at Cambridge University from none other than the Queen's Privy Council, telling the powers that be that in no uncertain terms give Marlowe his degree. The letter read, whereas it was reported that Christopher Marlowe was determined to have gone beyond the seas to Rheims and there to remain, their lordships thought good to certify that he had no such intent, and that in all his actions he had beloved himself orderly and discreetly, whereby he had done Her Majesty good service, and deserved to be rewarded for his faithful dealings. The letter goes on to reiterate these points, that he had been abroad doing Her Majesty's service.
Sneaky spy.
Oh, he's been working for the government.
Sneaky behaviour.
Maybe he's been doing some spying. Yes, Marlowe the spy. The legend about Marlowe being the spy. Allegedly, he attracted the government's attention while at his studies, not because he was screaming about transubstantiation, but because of his talent and his intelligence. Lord Burleigh, chief minister to the Queen Elizabeth and right-hand man of one Francis Walsingham, had noticed Marlowe and thought, what a good potential spy he might be. And he's quite attractive as a prospect because he's intelligent, he's erudite, he's articulate, and he's also from a Catholic stronghold in Canterbury. Canterbury, while it's the seat of the Anglican Church, it's also
a lot of Europeans,
yeah. A lot of you. Also, the Catholic Church had hold on there.
Yeah.
People were reluctant to sort of hand over, going, really? Protestantism? Do we have to? Really? Surprisingly, at that point.
Well, even now in the cathedral, isn't there a little Catholic chapel?
Well, there's a Catholic church right up from the cathedral.
Yeah.
So it's St. Thomas's.
But back in the day, even in the sort of the homeland of the Anglican faith, there was a little chapel that used to run sort of like Catholic services or something.
Yes.
For foreigners.
I don't know if it was exactly at that time, but Elizabeth's job was to straddle fucking everything and to go, we're Protestants. I'm trying to be nice to the Catholics. Puritans pipe down. Catholics come in. Here's a bit of a mass that you can listen to, and I'm not going to burn you like Mary, but we're done with that. We're just going to have to try and be nice to everyone. The main thing is religion is a really, really hot topic right now. Please don't let anyone piss us off about that. But apparently Marlowe didn't get the memo. But at this point, he is seen as a spy. And if they needed any more evidence of this, he's been to Rheims. Okay, maybe he was just there to try and be Catholic. Well, they just had to look at his Buttery records.
Was it full of cheese and wine and...
Butter. He just lit himself up. So the Buttery accounts were the student provision purchases.
Cheese and wine.
Cheese and wine.
Cheese and wine from Rheims.
Delicious. Nibbly. They showed that Marlowe had been spending lavishly on food and drink during his attendance at Cambridge. So he was poor. Why is he just like getting in cases of wine and brie?
Because it's all on credit. That's what you do when you're a student.
No. Okay,
you go,
not now.
Fucking credit. No, well, fucking credit cards.
Yes.
I'm getting in cases of cheese and wine. That's what a credit card is for.
When you first get your student loan, you're like, I'm going to spend this. I don't know how to save. Back then, he had no credit. He had no credit. He was a scholarship. He was supposed to be a pious, lovely man, and he was champagne and cheese. Here's an entire ball. There we are. They're like, why has he got so much money? Oh, wait. This might explain why he was absent for so long, and then he got paid shit tons of money. So clearly, he was earning a wage as a part-time spy. Other people think he did leave Cambridge for valid reasons, people who don't buy into the idea that he was a spy. Big old fucking plague was going on in Cambridge at the time. Did he just leave to avoid the plague?
That's a good reason to leave Cambridge.
It is, yeah. But it wouldn't account for the lashings of cash. So far from being a Catholic in disguise, the real trouble with Marlowe was much worse. Was it that he was gay?
I mean, that's fucking awful.
Everyone was gay. Not a problem. I say it's not a problem. Honestly, it was the least of his worries, really, when you look through Marlowe's history. People just put in there just kind of like, was Marlowe gay? Yeah, he was probably very happy with everything. Just let it go. Obviously, he would have encountered problems with this, and people wrote salacious things about his private life. Was Marlowe gay? There is no way to absolutely determine it, but he was reported to have said, all they that love not tobacco and boys were fools. A lot of people sort of elevated and sort of like puffed up the stuff that he said in his lifetime. Later on, these would be things that would be doled out after his death, as was the style at the time. Yeah. Wrote a lot of very sexy poems about chaps.
Nice.
Like very, very poems. It was said that Marlowe had been pursuing dangerous, forbidden knowledge with an esoteric club.
Oh, he's a wizard.
Named the School of Night.
Nice.
Do you know of the School of Night?
I don't know. Tell me. I'm intrigued.
So this was a club that after Marlowe's death, King James apparently believed all these men had magical powers.
Okay.
So it was more of a...
King James believed a lot of shit.
But King James believed fucking everything he was told.
Everything moved was because a fucking witch did it. So...
The School of Night. So this was a group intellectuals, philosophers, scientists. And they're going to talk about things. Intellectual things, philosophy, science. They're going to talk about religion, but they're going to dissect it. They're going to pull it apart, and they pull apart what society thinks, and they're not going to conform necessarily to religious standards or to one religion or another. You've got people like Marlowe were in there, Sir Walter Raleigh. Raleigh, I think it's pronounced actually. Sir Walter Raleigh was in this group. Allegedly, they would meet and discuss shameful things like science and philosophy and religion all together, mix it up. And that can only mean one thing, Nick. Atheists.
Oh, indeed.
Atheists.
Dreadful.
Now, that's a serious business. As I've said, Queen Elizabeth is doing the spider thing of trying to hold all of the religions together. You don't need atheists coming in.
You don't need no religions coming in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
you don't need people fucking shit up in that way.
Yeah.
Atheism is akin to treason.
Yeah.
At that time. If you are an atheist, if you declare it, if you are practicing it, if you're speaking about it, you are the worst kind of the worst. So
that's the weirdest of the weird.
Yes.
You believe in this, but not this, but you believe in something. And if it's a different version of God or whatever, then that's absolutely not at the time not fine. But it was accepted that you might believe in a different version. But to believe in no God, that's fucked up.
Yeah, that there is nothing.
That there's nothing.
But you're going against the establishment.
That is completely against everything that anyone has ever known.
Yeah, it's not just weird, but you're also going against the powers either side. Yeah. You cannot be controlled. You cannot be controlled, and that's scary.
That's madness.
So yes, atheism, Puritans, fine. Burn shit if you want to.
Because you believe in something.
You believe in something. You believe in something, and the idea is probably that you can control those ideas if you want to. If you have a strong enough argument, you can do it. So this is a slander and accusation that would be thrown at Marlowe throughout his life. And his plays are incredibly interesting. Some would say they're progressive. Some would say they're subversive. They deal with issues, elegantly or not, about religion, about acceptance, about society, about immigration, about sexuality. His plays confront that before Shakespeare did, before others did. So his shaky religious stance and his mysterious double life in the service of the Queen would only add to the drama around this young dramatist's life. And it would lead to a suitably dramatic reckoning in a room in Deptford in May 1593. And I think that's time for a drink.
I think it probably is.
Nick, we have our drinks.
We do.
We do. Out of university, Marlowe had achieved success pretty quickly. By 1587, Tamburlaine was regularly performed on a commercial stage in London. It was considered to be the first English tragedy written in blank verse and the beginning of the finest phase of Elizabethan drama. So he really was at the forefront here.
Indeed.
Shakespeare was born the same year as Marlowe. So he's a contemporary. Shakespeare was struggling.
But he's lacking. Yeah, he's slacking behind.
He was lacking, and there's all sorts of ideas about there are theories that they collaborated. And they probably did. His subsequent plays were enormously successful. He had a clear influence on Shakespeare. He was widely admired by his contemporaries, and he was getting the fame and recognition at the time that others didn't. He loved overreaching tragic heroes and challenging subversive ideas like religion, like religious conflict and skepticism in his plays. Yet away from the stage, Marlowe remained a curious, rebellious, subversive character whose days were numbered.
Okay.
The drama is high because the drama is real.
There's a lot of drama going on.
There is a lot of drama. Now, do you know anything about Christopher Marlowe's death? What rumours have you heard?
I really don't know anything at all, to be honest.
Nothing?
Nothing in the all.
Not even from the films?
I have not seen a film about him being dead.
Well, have you seen Shakespeare in Love?
No.
Have you not?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's not bad, actually.
It's Judi Dench, isn't it?
But you're going to have Paltrow and
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Joseph Fiennes.
Yes,
and
but no, I haven't.
Tom Stoppard wrote it.
No.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, I haven't.
No, that's the end of this conversation. So, most people, when they say, what happened to Christopher Marlowe, I would wager a few said, well, he died in a tavern fight. He was fighting in a tavern over the bill. And he got stabbed because of a row about the bill in a tavern.
Seems extreme.
Let's dispel the myth. It wasn't a tavern.
Okay.
It was a house in Deptford, owned by Dame Eleanor Bull. It was a private house. She would take in gentlemen people would come.
You were taken, gentlemen,
Take him in, gentlemen. No.
by the hour.
Wasn't that nice, respectable, like? Respectable.
Well, why is she taking in gentlemen then?
Because it's just like a bit of cash on the side. People came by and said, "Can I use your house?" I mean, keep these thoughts in mind. Keep these thoughts.
Sorry, respectable. Can I come in and use your house?
Yes.
And that's
4 men
and
came
that's
in.
respectable.
And she gave them dinner. And breakfast.
Right.
Breakfast, then dinner. Not dinner, then breakfast.
I was going to say, so they had dinner, then they went off to be respectable in the house that they had hired, and then they had breakfast in the morning.
They arrived in the
Those
morning.
4 men were not doing respectable things, I
They
guarantee
were doing
you.
respectable things, but it wasn't with Dame Bull. That wasn't
Well,
it.
they may not be, but together. Not respectable at all.
Keep it in mind, because really, there will be questions.
And why wasn't I invited?
So it wasn't a tavern.
Okay.
There weren't loads of people around. Christopher
Just
Marlowe.
4. That's all you need.
Christopher Marlowe went there with 3 other men, so there's 4 of them, no other bystanders. Said to be a ruckus about the reckoning. The reckoning is another name for the bill.
Okay. Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's been used many times since then about the reckoning.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, it's a Shakespearean phrase.
I
now.
have to use that. We'll have to use that when we're going to a restaurant next
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Let us talk of the reckoning.
Let's talk of the reckoning.
Let us talk of the reckoning.
Can we have the reckoning, please?
It was a big old fight about the reckoning. What we do know what happened in this house in Deptford is from the inquest report. And the inquest report is shady at best. But it's based on the testimony of the 3 remaining people who were there, who were present. You have Christopher Marlowe. You have Ingram Fraser. Fraser, I think it's pronounced Fraser. He was a property speculator, a commodity broker, basically a fixer for gentlemen of good worship, confidence trickster, who gulled young fools out of their money. Pretty shady, shitty character.
Right.
Very much a dodgy man in the employ of Thomas Walsingham, cousin of Francis. Christopher Marlowe also knew Thomas Walsingham as well. He'd stayed at his house in Chislehurst.
How delightful.
So it was known there. You also have Nicholas Skerrers, an Elizabethan conman, government informer. He'd worked with Fraser before.
Curious company.
Yeah. So he'd worked with Fraser, not a particularly pleasant man either. He'd worked with him before and after to con people out of money. Small player in getting the people behind the Babington plot as well. Worked for the Earl of Essex as well.
Okay.
So Lizzie's friend. So Robert Poley, who is a full-on spy for the government. English double agent, government messenger, agent provocateur. Worked for Robert Cecil. This man, there was a quote that I got from Christopher Nichol, who's a brilliant historian on this. Robert Poley, he will beguile you either out of your wife or your life.
Nice.
Isn't that great? Absolutely amazing.
Or your pants.
That you hope for. Hello. We don't know why these 4 men were meeting.
I mean, that's an interesting company to be keeping.
So you got to picture the scene. Christopher Marlowe is meeting these 3 guys in a house. It's not a tavern. It is a private home. Discussions will be had. Dame Bull will provide them with food. She's getting some extra cash or whatever, so she's kind of like, oh, okay, we'll rent a house or whatever. Airbnb early.
Yeah.
These men had breakfast there. They went for a walk in the gardens. We can only assume they were large gardens, not a terrace, like they were just walking around and round and round.
Yeah.
These days in Deptford, yes.
Size property, yeah.
At the time, Deptford was in Kent. Went for the walk in the gardens, went back in for supper. It ends up with Marlowe lying on a bed in a room.
Okay.
The 3 others sitting in a line with their backs to him, playing backgammon.
So I'm trying to envision this.
Do it.
He's lying on a bed.
Yep.
And the 3 others are sitting in chairs, facing the bed.
No, facing away from him.
Facing away from the bed.
All in one line.
In a line playing backgammon.
Yep.
I mean, that's weird. Mm-hmm. I mean, not something I generally do if I invite 4 friends around. Or 3 friends. Three friends. So there's 4 of us.
Marlowe may have been recovering on the bed. Or been shouting at them how to play backgammon.
Right.
And they were getting more and more tense by the minute. But apparently this was the scene.
Okay.
What would happen is that Dame Bull apparently brought in the reckoning, the bill. And then there was an argument over the bill. over how it would be paid. There were whispers between the men and Marlowe, one of the men and Marlowe, who was on the bed, about the bill, about the coins. What happens is Marlowe gets up, according to the inquest, takes Fraser's dagger that was on him, takes it up and uses the pommel, which is the hilt, which is the handle, the pommel, and beats him twice over the head. Like bats him over the head with it. So the expression to pommel someone comes from that. So he beats him over the head. The man had marks on his head. What ends up happening...
But he didn't use the business end of the dagger, did he?
No. But he takes the pommel and batters him on the head. Fraser turns the dagger around, gets hold of the dagger in Marlowe's hand, turns it, and shoves it back, and the dagger goes in just above Marlowe's right eye.
Yeah.
Straight into the brain. Marlowe drops dead.
Yeah, that's gonna
instant
do it.
death. Some say it goes in through the eye, some goes just above the eye, but
either way, it's
enough. He drops dead.
Yeah.
Marlowe is dead in this room. The men do not flee.
Okay.
No one runs after the scene. Do they know they're going to be safe? Do they know they're blameless? What would happen is that they would plead it was self-defense. This story that becomes embellished over the years is that Marlowe was annoyed about the bill in this house that they were all in. They had a fight about the bill, ends up with Marlowe striking the guy in the head with the pommel of his own dagger. The guy turns around and strikes Marlowe through the eye and kills him. It's a fight. It's a self-defense because Marlowe was attacking him.
I mean...
They do not flee after the scene. They don't talk about it. Do they know they're going to be safe?
Yeah.
Do they know they're blameless because it is an act? The inquest would conclude that Marlowe had been killed in self-defense. Simple enough. Oh, was it, Nick?
No. That's bollocks.
You're not happy with that?
No, I'm not happy with that at all.
Okay, why are you not happy with that?
Well, no, I mean, I'm sorry, there's 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And he's... Okay, fair enough. He's hit the guy with the end of his dagger. So this is not the... I've slashed at you or I've cut you or anything like that. I've just hit you with the end of the dagger and you stabbed me in the eye.
With the same dagger.
With the same dagger.
We'll make that point that Marlowe is beating him on the head and the guy has gotten his, as he says, has gotten his hand, turned it around to defend himself, and the blade has gone through his eye and then dead.
The blade doesn't just go into someone's eye.
Some of the questions, I'm going to use these now, as listed by the Marlowe Society, and this is a great website, great resource on his life. Some of the questions they've asked. No one else who wasn't present identified the corpse.
Oh.
No. It was just those 3 men. No one else identified the corpse. There was this allegation that he'd been brought for the inquest and they all poked him around and everything, but no one at the scene identified his corpse.
So it could have been anyone?
Is
he still alive today?
Eleanor Bull, Dame Bull was not called to the room.
Mm.
Was she called with the servants? That is not in the inquest report that anyone else came into the room. Did anyone else give evidence about the meeting of these 4 men? No one knows why they were there. It's not recorded. No one has recorded who booked the room, who paid for it, or what was discussed in the room. So they give the account of what happened, but none of the surrounding. None of the information.
Seems fishy to me.
There are many people who believe that Marlowe was in fact murdered.
Yeah.
It was a premeditated assassination to get rid of someone who maybe knew too much. And I will give you context around this murder. 10 days before his death, Christopher Marlowe had been arrested on heresy charges.
Okay.
In 1593 of that year, there was an influx of Protestant refugees from France and the Netherlands who settled in London. And this resulted in a number of threatening anti-immigration bills, as we would call it today, being posted around the city. Horrible, horrible posters that were put up. And it would include a collection that were called the Dutch Church Libel on the 5th of May, threatening these refugees, talking about them, and one contained multiple allusions to Marlowe's works and was signed by Tamberlin.
Okay.
So these posters that were appearing out of nowhere seemed to be influenced by Marlowe, and they were signed by Tamblyn. Now, no one thought really that Marlowe had written these, but that Marlowe was inciting something. So an investigation was launched, and the Privy Council ordered the arrest of Marlowe and an investigation into his works. Marlowe was marked out as a potential owner of possibly heretical documents. Marlowe's housemate at the time was playwright Thomas Kidd.
Okay.
Yeah, Thomas Kidd. Thomas Kidd was arrested on the 11th of May. Now, Thomas Kidd is just another playwright. He's hanging out with Marlowe. Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
The authorities kick down the door, come in and go, Thomas Kidd, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know why you're here. And they search through all of their belongings, all of the lodgings. They found no evidence of anti-refugee libels, but they did find texts amongst Thomas Kidd's papers, or what seemed to be his possessions, that the inspector described as vile heretical conceits, denying the eternal deity of Jesus Christ. So heretical documents have been found where Christopher Marlowe lodged, but also in Thomas Kidd's documents. And Thomas Kidd at the time claims, they're not mine, they weren't mine. A tiny bit of torture, just take him away.
A wee bit of torture.
And he is singing like a bird.
What a surprise.
I often think Thomas Kidd in that situation is like the character in Deadpool who just goes, I just want you to know that I will tell you anything if you apply the slightest
The
pain.
bartender chappie, yeah.
Yeah. It is. Thomas Kidd took nothing for him to
That'd
start.
be much like me, to be honest.
Absolutely singing, no effort whatsoever. That it was just like, I will sell out Marlowe.
Yeah. The vaguest threat of pointy things. I'm telling you what you like.
Maybe he did endure a lot worse, but yeah, he was very happy to sing like a bird. Accused his former housemate of being a blasphemous traitor, an atheist who believed that Jesus Christ was a homosexual. He also said that Marlowe was blasphemous, disorderly, holding treasonous opinions, being a religious reprobate, and intemperate out of a cruel heart. He's giving all of this up. Was this the same old stuff that all heretics were accused of? Yes, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. When you find a heretic, you say the same things. Oh, he's blasphemous and he's gay and he punches people in the street and he puts pineapple on his pizza and he likes Coldplay. He never puts the toilet seat down. Yeah. He dog ears books. He folds the corners down. Oh, he's the worst person ever. You have to say all these things. Oh, okay, great. Christopher Marlowe is awful. He is a heretic. But then still we're in the same sticky situation. If people wanted Marlowe off the streets to frame him for these posters or to condemn him as a heretic, he was arrested at the same time a few days after as Thomas Kidd. Why not just keep him in jail?
Yeah.
Why not keep him in jail and torture him? Because what happened was that he was arrested and he was let go unscathed. He was arrested on the 20th of May, not imprisoned, not tortured, like Thomas Kidd was, and he was given bail on the condition that he report in daily to the officers of the court. Why was Christopher Marlowe given this leniency when others weren't, if he was accused of heresy? Marlowe did report to the council each day until his death, some 10 days later. So why did he end up dead? One implication is that Marlowe knew too much. If he was tortured or jailed, he might start letting slip secrets he had gathered from the inner circle, whether it implied people in the Queen's Privy Council or other Catholics who didn't want him to know stuff. Why wasn't he jailed immediately? Something happened there.
Someone keeping him out of jail, isn't there? So someone protecting him.
Earlier that year, he'd been arrested in the Netherlands for allegedly counterfeiting coins. He had gone on some sort of secrety mission to the Netherlands, caught counterfeiting coins that was supposed to infiltrate the Catholic masses. It was thought that he'd been an undercover job organised by Robert Cecil, and he'd messed it up, and he was arrested, and he was sent back. And now Cecil is really worried that he's going to start blabbing about it, because there's, conspiracies within conspiracies within the courts at the time that don't necessarily want those revealed. Was the real target the atheists or the troublemakers around him? and he might have gotten in with them. So the likes of Walter Raleigh, who was a target, maybe they offered Marlowe the chance to turn Walter Raleigh in exchange for his information, and he'd maybe gone, oh, maybe I don't want to, or, you know, we'll look after you until you give us information. Something happened with Marlowe that he wasn't imprisoned and tortured.
Yeah, he knew something.
He knew something, but it ended up with his death, as the conspiracy theorists would have it. In regards to the inquest, the only witnesses who were there, the 3 men, were the only people who gave evidence. You have Poley, who was a consummate liar, was called the very genius of the Elizabethan underworld. You have the others who experienced con men. You have all sorts of people who are working with the Walsingham family, certainly, and Robert Cecil. So you have all of these theories that are happening. It does seem strange that Marlowe would act out so viciously for an unpaid bill.
Yeah.
But considering he was going to go on trial and be executed possibly for atheism and heresy, why would you kick off about a bill in a house? And why were you there with those 3 guys?
It's a strange crowd to hang out with.
Maybe this is a way of getting rid of someone who could damage the government, who could screw things up as a spy, someone who hadn't done a good job and just needed to be put out of the way without really seeming to, you know, if he goes and he's tortured, he could let slip about all sorts of people. So let's make sure that he's out of the way. After his death, fellow double agent and rival Richard Baines would report extensively about how Marlowe had written blasphemous works. He listed a multitude of sins and terrible things that Marlowe had done. He absolutely railed on it. This kind of crossed over that he had started writing this before Marlowe had died. This man was so determined. Baines was a spy at the same time as Marlowe, and lots of people have surmised that Baines was quite jealous of Marlowe, potentially. There's no firm evidence behind it, but they were both in the same places in Europe and in England at the same time. Baines was really annoyed that Marlowe was the poster boy, and he was really pissed off, so he just absolutely wanted to decimate him. It's one of the theories. But there were other theories around it that, the Privy Council arranged his death through Walsingham because Marlowe knew too much, and these 3 men were paid assassins. Other, more different theories. Fraser murdered him because he envied Marlowe's close relationship with Thomas Walsingham. So he wanted to be sort of numero uno. Audrey Walsingham arranged for his death because she was very jealous of how close he was with Thomas Walsingham.
Okay.
So Walter Raleigh arranged the murder because he was afraid that Marlowe would reveal his secrets.
Yeah.
Okay. These 3 men in the office, they could have been hired by anyone.
Maybe.
He was killed on the orders of Lord Burleigh and Robert Cecil because they were afraid what Marlowe might reveal under torture. He was accidentally killed.
No. No.
Shakespeare killed him out of jealousy.
Yes, Shakespeare.
Shakespeare killed him out of jealousy. It is a bizarre ending to this man's life. And again, I will reiterate that a lot of the details of Marlowe's life aren't available. Really, when you delve into it, there have been great books written about him. But compared to some of the other contemporaries of the time, there are gaps. There are gaps of who really was this man. Because you have a lot of other people talking about this is who this man was. He was awful. He was great. He was evil. He was the worst person in the world. This could be a case of a faked murder as well. Some people believe that Marlowe's power was so great that the government arranged for him to go away to a foreign country because he was a very good spy and they didn't want him killed. He would be up against heresy charges. Or he had to go away so he could become William Shakespeare.
Maybe.
In the end, is a man so heavily involved with the government, so heavily involved with so many people in different echelons of society. We will never know the whole truth. But this is a man who wrote some of the great plays of our time, who had an incredible double life, and we will never really know how he died.
Indeed.
And that is the story of Christopher Marlowe.
And I wish I hadn't got quite so drunk on that one, because there's a lot going on there that I was trying to keep track of, and it's quite difficult after many drinks.
Well, I'm okay now, so ask away. It's fine.
So that was I mean, yes, so obviously someone wanted him dead. Was it a tavern brawl or just a brawl over a bill? No.
It wasn't a tavern brawl. People,
was it a brawl over a bill that he didn't want to pay? No. I don't believe so whatsoever.
A lot of people have tried to portray Christopher Marlowe. He was a rake and he was a rove and he was like, he was a dastard guy who would get into fights with people. Really, the evidence of that, it's just people telling stories. No. We have, it's odd. It's an uncomfortable odd. Kind of level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the whole thing is odd.
But then, was he a spy? I don't think he was a very good spy. He wasn't a great spy. It's a big fucking question, isn't it? Because he was writing some of the most interesting plays of the time. He was successful.
I mean, he may well have been a spy at some point. He may well, and I suspect that he knew too much, or he knew someone's secrets that he didn't want him to know, and then arranged his death.
Yeah,
I don't believe it was just a random. Brawl, and it happened. I think it's a weird group of people to go to a house with.
Yeah, it's not like you're all like having pints.
It's not like you're there with your mates type thing. It's a select group of spies and sneaky people that you're there with. And why you all end up in a bedroom playing backgammon?
No, that would be your kind of like room. Someone would be on a bed, probably.
Why would someone be on a bed?
Well, back then you probably would, yes. There would be a bed in there and there'd be chairs and everything. Like, you'd be reclining, it'd be fine. It's not like quite Romanesque, but it's fine. It's someone's house.
But why was like... Why is he there in the first place?
Maybe they were all shagging, Nick.
Maybe
they were. They were all kind of... There's lots of influences.
Playing backgammon afterwards. Yeah. And he's just knackered lying there.
Maybe. There's weird reasons why they'd all be together. It's like, over the years, people have said it was a tavern. They were all in a tavern. There was a brawl about the bill, and that's very acceptable, and that seems completely reasonable. It wasn't a tavern. It was a private house with these 4 people in it together. They had spent all day there. What were they talking about? What were they doing? No. Why did Christopher Marlowe end up dead?
I suspect that he was a target. Yes, he had been targeted to be murdered.
Plotting. Well, There we are. Well, what do you think, people? What do you think happened with the death of Christopher Marlowe? Christopher Marlowe, the great playwright, the son of Canterbury. Tell us what you think. Jump on the comments of this episode. Share your thoughts, your feelings, your theories about what could have been going on. There's a lot of elements there, and we encourage you to pick through it. But most importantly, when you do mix up an archbishop.
It'd be lovely.
It was very nice.
It's very tasty. It went on a treat.
It did.
So yes, the rest will be out this evening. So yeah, do give it a go if you can. It's got all the regular stuff that most people should have.
It's 3 ingredients.
3 ingredients.
The fewer ingredients.
Everyone should have a bottle of green chartreuse in the house. So yep, get on it and let us know what you think.
I threw up for a bit. No.
Oh, lies.
It's not bad at all. It is a nice alternative to a Negroni. Go for it if you so wish. If you don't feel like mixing up that, or if you just simply haven't got the ingredients, share pictures of any cocktails you were enjoying this weekend. If you can, join us on patreon.com/The Poisonous Cabinet and leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. It's very important that any podcast you listen to, if you love it, leave a 5-star review, because it's really, really helps.
Don't forget to check out the website, www.thepoisanouscabinet.com. We're live. Cocktails. Hurrah.
Visit. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisonous Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.